Welcome to this third Intro to Substance Designer stay-at-home session. It's the last one for the Intro to Substance Designer. This stream was made possible thanks to New Media Manitoba. New Media Manitoba is the sector council and nonprofit association serving Manitoba's interactive digital media industry. So yeah, Intro to Substance Designer. Hey, we did it, guys. We did our first session where we looked at UI basics, we looked at nodes, took a look at the basic workflow for working with nodes to create materials. And then in our second session, we made this. We took a look at some reference for flagstone. We broke down that reference a little bit. I talked a bit about how I break that stuff down, what shapes I look for. And then we got into, starting to work on those shapes and putting them together in here, and we focused on the height. And so today, what we're going to do is finish this off. So first of all, we'll probably go back, and I'm going to tweak some things in here. I don't know about you, but this is an exclusive to Substance Designer, but in any art, really. You have some time to marinate on something, and when you come back, there's usually a couple of things you want to tweak or you think you can do better. So there's a couple of things that I think I want to touch on before we move on. And then after we're done that, we're going to jump into doing the roughness pass, which shouldn't take very long. And then we'll finally do the color stuff, which is really fun because that's when this is going to start to look like a thing. So yeah, we'll look at some techniques for applying color, and then when we're done that, I will show you what kind of checks I do before I publish a material, things that I look for, and so then yeah, we'll create that sbsar file or the substance archive file. You'll see what that's like, and then I'll show you dropping that into Substance Painter, so you can see. Oh, and I almost forgot, we will finally expose some parameters today, so you'll get to see all that. And then of course, if you have any questions afterwards, we'll get into that. And also feel free, I do check the chat intermittently, so if there's anything that you need or you're very confused about, just let me know, and every once in a while I'll check out the chat and try and answer those. Yeah, there is really no easy way to say it. Sometimes I say sbsar, but I don't think that's how you're supposed to say it. Before we jump in, I may as well ask you, were there any questions from the last two sessions that you need me to clear up before we get started? I realize typing takes longer than speaking, so I'm just going to give a minute. Okay, well, I will maybe then get started with some of these changes I want to make, and then again, if you have if somebody's typing a question, I'll give you some time to do that. Okay, so looking at this thing, there's a couple things I wanted to do. The first one was, you might remember, or you might not, that I tried to warp the shape here, and I was getting an artifact in my histogram select, and then I just sort of gave up. But I took a look at it again after the stream, and I figured out what I did wrong. So we're going to take a look at that first. So I believe what I needed to do was get my directional warp and a crystal, and I'm going to set that really low. I'm going to put that in the intensity input, and I'm going to put this in here. Okay, so the thing that I want is just that if I set this intensity at 50 or something, I just want to push these shapes around to get a little bit more of a little angular dents or something, so that it doesn't look just like a this Verneuil pattern that we made. So we'll do a bit of that. Maybe set it to 3. Okay, so when I did this, this ended up with these lines. But what I can do is do the distance node thing again. So, and the reason that it's giving me these lines is once I do this directional warp, if I zoom in, it's giving me these like transitional values in here, and I don't want that. I want it to go straight from one color to the next. Not that I don't want that. The distance node doesn't want that. So we're just going to repeat what we did here. And luckily we have a mask here for the edge detect. So I'm going to put that into the mask input. This is already set really high. Oh, sorry, need that in there. So yeah, it's already at the value that we need. So I can plug that in to the histogram select. And voila, those lines are gone. Yeah, so that's that. Just gonna clean this up a little bit, and then now I can sort of dynamically look at what I'm affecting here. It's maybe like a little too. Sure. Not sure. Set it back to 3. Okay. But yeah, so you can play with that on your own and get something that you want, but I just wanted you to see that, because like even if you wanted to do a more, like a softer shape, we could take like a Perlin noise and you could put that in here to push the shapes around that way. But yeah, I just like being able to do that, and I didn't want to leave you with just like a problem from the last one and not figuring out the solution for it. Okay, then there was another thing. I'm not really getting much of my slope blur. Like I see when I added those chips in here, they're not showing up a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is find that slope blur is here. But I realized that the grayscale input that I grabbed was actually from back here, and what I need to grab is this. There's this non-uniform blur grayscale that I grabbed, or that we made to kind of give it a little bit of a blur and be able to create a bevel. So I need that one. So now if you look, I'm going to plug that into here, and we start to see, it was very subtle, but we start to see more of it, more of those chips. And then I'm going to now play with either the intensity, yeah, maybe that. I don't know what's going on here. Is that's coming all the way from back here. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of random seed, see if I can get rid of that on the crystal here. And it did, so great. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted a little bit more of that chipping. 0.68 is probably a bit much, but maybe 1.15. And then let's play with the scale. And possibly set this to 0.1 instead. There. It's fussy, but yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit more on the edges. Because I just found when I was doing like the color pass so that I could run through it first, there were a couple of things that I just automatically started tweaking on this material, and I didn't want to tweak a bunch of things and then have mine look different than yours. So I figured we'd redo that stuff together. Okay. The other thing was, I may have dialed back on some of this surface detail a bit too much. So I'm gonna turn on our tessellation, so materials, default, edit. I'm gonna set this to 5 maybe. Okay, and yeah, so first of all, I'm gonna go to histogram range. I just want to see some more of that, so I'm gonna set this to start with 0.2. Yeah. Cool. I think that'll do. These striations might be a bit heavy now though, so where are those? Those are here. So I just might reduce those. Cool. These cracks. Change my mind about this. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just personal preference. But I'm going to change that to be a clouds 2. And there we go. I want that instead. I kind of like that, but that's really it's not exactly what I'm going for today. I know. I do like clouds 2 a lot. Sure, I'm going to leave it there for now. And maybe let this go in a bit deeper there with the cracks. Cool. And then there was another thing. Clouds 1 and 3 wish they had what clouds 2 has. Okay, so there's another little thing with the dirt. Okay, so this was driving me nuts, this height offset, that it would pop up in the middle here, right? So instead, we're going to use our non-uniform blur to flatten out the dirt wherever these stones are. So I'm going to grab non-uniform blur. I'm going to grab this. This is our stone shape right before the dirt blend. I'm going to use that as the blur map. I'm going to grab this histogram range as the grayscale. So here we have that. And then in our intensity, it's going to go all the way up to 50, samples all the way up, blades all the way up. I might even like put that all the way up to 100 or something. I'm also, I think, going to do, okay, first I'll blend this. I also need to grab a mask. So I'm going to grab this edge detect. So I'm just going to duplicate it to bring it over. And I'm going to plug that into a bevel so that we can get something a bit wider, like that. Maybe smooth it a bit. And need a levels. Okay, so for the blend, On this levels up here, you can invert, right here, sorry. I'm going to use that as a mask. I'm going to take this blurred one, and that's going to go, I believe, underneath. And this one, our actual dirt, is going to go on top. And the last thing I'm going to do is on this non-uniform. I know this is looking a bit messy, so I'm going to have to move all this up over. That back. I also want to lower the value on this, so in between this histogram range and this histogram range, I'm still going to grab another histogram range. I'm going to keep the range all the way up, but I'm going to reduce the position to something very low. So now these areas underneath the rocks are showing up as being a lot lower, blurred by the actual stone shape that we ended up with. And then using our actual grout mask, I just made it bigger with a bevel. So if I were to bring this height offset up, and then, pray for me, I plug that, nope, not there. Perfect. I plug that into where the dirt is supposed to go. Huzzah! Okay. Now it's just flowing over the edges there, which is what I wanted. I just wanted it to kind of spill over. Yeah, I'm just very excited, Shamaz. Okay. There was a couple times I did it and I was like, this is awesome. I figured it out. Great. And then I tried to run through it again, so I remembered what I did for today, and I kept screwing it up. So I was worried I was going to screw it up again. And I didn't want to have you guys watch me fumble for like 10 minutes. So there we go. So now, even if I went really high, it's just going to stay in those areas. And you can, like, we're not going to do it right now, but later, if you want, you could refine this mask, or we could make it like, okay, so that we could do this another time, but I'm going to do it right now. The slope blur, grayscale, I don't know, let's like not pretend I'm not going to grab a clouds. Let's try clouds 1. Give it an opportunity. So let's see what this looks like. I don't love that, so I think what I need to do is, I mean, it's not horrible, but I wish it was softer. I can just blur it. Blur high quality grayscale. But basically, I just want to like, so it wasn't just like a straight blobby cloud coming through. But I still don't love it, so we're going to do my one and only max. There we go. Kind of like that. I don't mind that. That's cool. Yeah, and then there. Okay, that's enough of that. But now we have this, so that our dirt goes just where we want it to, and not where we don't. Okay, and I think the thing I was going to show you here is that if I brought the height offset like all the way up here, you're still only getting the stones like right along this path, which I don't love. So I think if I go in here, yeah, okay. So there's a thing you can do with the color map input, and since we're blurring all this out anyway, I don't really have to worry about stones in the middle here. So I don't even know that I need this. I'm going to turn it off for now. Yeah, so they're not even poking through because they can't. But also, in case you're worried about that, the other thing you can do is you can make these stones dark where the stones are. Like using this mask here, if I were to plug this into the color map input and do an invert grayscale, and then go into the color area, there's this color, you know what, the para something multiplier. I can say it, I just don't want to. And then I can turn down the color random. So now it's only, like now I'm telling it with this mask basically that these pebbles are, their color is black, where this is black. So yeah, and then they're the biggest or brightest, have the most height detail to offer right in the very center. So you can use that. Like in anything, you can you know, use a mask to tell the objects that you're scattering around. You can tell them how, you can tell the tile sampler how big you want them to be or whatever by inputting a mask. Cool. But I am going to do a bit of more mask random maybe because it's just too many. Cool. I'm happy. I think I'm happy for now. Okay. So, yeah. That's all I wanted to go over for adjusting shapes. So let's get into the roughness now. Okay, so I need to make some space. You know, I get the pun that this episode is all filler, but it could be interpreted like I'm not saying anything very good. I'm just kidding. But, yeah. Filler episodes are good episodes. I know. Okay, so I'm going to grab a normal, and I'm going to grab a curvature. And yeah, we're going to go before the height blend or the dirt blend. Plug that into the normal because that's what the curvature needs, is a normal input. So we're not seeing very much yet, but that's because it's dependent on the strength of our normal. So I'm going to turn this all the way up to like 30. Now we're getting some of this. And I probably want to put a levels on it. So let's bring that in, and then we won't make it quite so shiny, and we'll start there. Metallic I don't need, I don't know why I brought it up there. Oh my gosh. We got 2 pun masters in the chat. I don't know if I can keep up. That's a duel I want to see. I'm not mad at puns. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, so there, we've started the roughness. So this is just like our base one, but I'm gonna get some information from the dirt now. Maybe we'll do the same thing. No. I'm just going to grab a blend. We'll start with this, just the straight dirt there. And then this dirt height blend is great because right here it gives you a height mask. So you have a mask for exactly where that stuff you're blending in is. So I'm going to use that as my mask between these two. So now I've got my dirt in here. I might put a levels on that. Sort of crunch in the values. I think I'm going to do this separately. I'm going to grab, I'm going to duplicate this one, but I want these to be brighter this time, I think. There we go. And then I'm also going to blend in the rocks separately. So I'm going to grab them from, oh look, I have a levels here already. Okay, so this is where the blend coming out from the tile sampler, I put a levels on it at some point. I'm just going to steal that. Put that in here. I can, oh, that's a terrible idea. Wait. Oh no, that works. Never mind. Sorry. Cool. We have that. Now those rocks are even rougher than the rest of the dirt, so they stand out a little bit more. Cool. Let's see. Yeah, I can bring out a little bit more of that. Those scratches. Cool. Then I want to add in the, so we have these cracks and the pock marks. So I gotta do this in a couple of steps because I broke them up this way. So I'm going to grab a couple of blends. So I'm going to need to do this 3 times, I think. Okay, so first I need these ones. And I need, because I masked them out a little bit with this thing. I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to do min darken. I can do a multiply probably. Yeah. See what min darken is. Yeah, let's do multiply. And put this in here, and then I need this one. I'm going to use that as the mask and just add those together. And then cracks. Nope, I need it from here. And I need this mask. Plug that in. Add. So we've got all this stuff. And I am going to, well, first I'm going to pull all this stuff over here because I think this all needs to go over here too. And so I'm going to take this, put it here, grab another blend, and add that. But I don't want it to go where the grout is. Cool. I think I'm happy with that for now. So to me, even though this is stone, it's looking a little flat to me. I mean, basically, I'm just gonna fake a little bit of visual interest. So I'm gonna give it like a little bit of moisture. Sorry, for those of you who hate that word. So I'm just gonna fake like, I can't help what the note is called. The something noise. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to warp it a little with a perla noise. And then I'm going to do a directional warp with some like directional noise. So I do maybe this directional noise. Okay, rotate it. And then this one is like, so I know that I've broken up a lot of these types of noises per brick before, but this is more like environmental. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to blend that on top. So now it just sort of, some random moistury stuff there, but I don't want these super dark spots. So I'm going to, oh wait, I lost everything else. Oh really? Do I like that? That could work. But I'm going to take all levels and I'm just going to get rid of anywhere it's super dark. I might also get rid of the absolute whites. Also like in darken or multiply. Sorry if you can hear those sirens. Yeah, I think I like overlay the best for now. Cool. Cool. So that is our roughness for now, unless we decide that there's something else we want to add later. So I'm just gonna put a frame on this whole thing here. You can get more specific with this too, like you could break these two up if you want, whatever helps you keep it all organized. But now we're gonna get into the base color. Genius. I deleted our output, so I gotta create a new one. Oops. Well, now we'll know how to make one of these. Okay, so I have my output. Has to be base color spelt the American way. Label. And I'm just going to double check these because I believe, yeah, material. This one's capitalized. Group is material. And then you can go add item. And it's by default it's set to diffuse, but we can, I think base color is what we want. And sRGB. Cool. You know what? I just want to double check that. I know I'm supposed to pretend that I know everything right now, but I'm going to do a new graph. And just make sure that it's set to base color. Yeah, okay, cool. Not diffuse. Oh no, you found me out. I double check things sometimes. Okay, sweet. So now we have the base color output back. And now it's at the bottom. Oops. But, cool. Green stones, what? Okay. So we'll start with, I'll just show you sort of like the ballpark that we're thinking. Like, so this is my run through of it. And I'm going to show you how to grab color for your gradient maps from reference. So feel free, actually, if you want. If you haven't done so already, you could just take like a snip of the screen. So for you following along, so you have something to grab colors from. And I'll just give you like 30 seconds, a minute to do that. If you just use something like your snipping tool here, or if you search snipping, you can get that, and then you'll be able to, yeah, sample colors from that. Are we good? I don't want to take it away too fast. Oops. Okay, sweet. I got 1 thumbs up, so I'm just going to move it. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's grab gradient map, and I'm going to grab, what are these down here? One of these ones that has like all of our, it's very subtle in the height, but that has like some grayscale values in it from making the height of the stones. So I'm just going to duplicate it so that, oh, I guess no emojis here. You just have to write out your feelings with words. Okay, so I just grabbed from here, and I'm only duplicating it just so that I don't have to like have this spaghetti going so far, and I can sort of see what I'm working with. The other thing that you could do is you could go all the way down here to the thing that you want, and if you click on the output, you get this little piece here, and you click again. Oh, if you click and you let go, you get this. So you could search for, say, a gradient map, and then connect it that way, and then you could just pull your gradient map over. In fact, I'm going to do that so that you can see what I mean. So click, and then I'm going to grab a gradient map. So now it's made it for me, and I'm just going to pull it over. Also, oops, if you click on, oh man, I don't know how to get rid of them though. I believe if you click on the, yeah, if you click on a connection point while holding, or if you hold Alt and hover over connection point, you can add one of these dot or reroute node things here. So you can do that to sort of clean up your graph and like have this spaghetti sort of go around all of your nodes. Okay, so what happens if you just, no, okay. I don't want two though. I hate that you have to zoom out so far. Okay. And so on this, I'm going to grab a levels because I want to dial in some of these values. So I have more showing up like that. Cool. So now we have this. I'm going to zoom in on this and try and bring the reference in. So that I can sample. So we go to the gradient map editor here. And so like the thing that we make is not going to look exactly the same as this because it would be a waste of your time to watch me try to hit that again. You'll see when you're picking gradients, it's very random, and I'm going to keep doing this a bunch of times till I get something that I like. So you feel free to do the same. Don't worry about trying to get exactly the thing I have, but get something that you like. And you know, after we're done this, you may go back and decide you need to try again too. So you can see here sort of what it's doing. So it's taking these gray values and it's applying this gradient here, and you can make it more complex or less complex to have more or fewer values. I'm going to try this again. I think I want a bold or color for this one. Yeah. For now, I will be satisfied with that. If you want to adjust these values, if you select all here or select an individual point, you could select a point and delete it, or drag it up to get rid of it. You can move them around if you want them to be in a slightly different spot. And you can select all, and you could reduce, like you could reduce the value or increase the value, increase the saturation if you want. So those are all options. Okay, so that's our first one. And so we don't have to look at this green thing anymore. I'm just going to plug that in. So now we're going to start layering some stuff. So I'm going to, again, take my favorite node. I never really considered it my favorite node, but it's become obvious that it's definitely my preferred node. And I'm going to duplicate both of these because I know that I'm going to use both of them. I'm just going to bring these both over. So that was our flood fill to gradient and flood fill to random grayscale. Cool. So I'm going to do a directional more. Just going to do this per stone. And that's going to go into the input. Maybe make 2 disorder, just to have something interesting. I'm going to plug that in so we can separate it by stone, something like 50. And then I'm going to plug that into a gradient map. And I'm going to get my reference again. I'm just going to grab something else and see what happens. So it's too light, I think. I like that better. I grab from here. Okay. And then you can actually, there's a slope blur color. And I'm just going to use, maybe I'll use this. And I'm going to use this to just kind of blur this out a little bit. And then I'm going to blend these two together. Oops. And just reduce this a bit. So I'm just going to soften that up a bit. Cool. And we can blend these together. And I'll plug that in so we can see what's going on here. This is what we have so far for these stones. Yeah, I'm going to duplicate this again and try some other colors. Maybe from this darker stuff. Ooh, cool. And then I'm going to create mask by doing a histogram select. Plug that into here. Increase the contrast. See what this is like. So if I did another blend, plug this in, but use this mask so that it's only some of the tiles, and then I kind of want them to blend together, so we're just gonna make it overlay it. I don't like overlay. So do that. This is by no means finished, but this is starting to distract me a little bit. So we're gonna incorporate our dirt now and come back to this section. So we've got this gradient map, and I'm gonna grab this. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to do the same thing again where, like, a lot of these opacities for stuff that I blended were for the height, so it wasn't too strong, but I might want certain things stronger for grabbing a gradient. So here where I was layering on, like, these little speckles, I'm going to duplicate that blend. Sorry, I feel like I did that kind of fast, but just so you know. This blend here that was adding the speckles on, I duplicated that so that then I can maybe bring this up so I get these values in there. I'm going to plug that into a gradient and try and find some. I don't have very good, unfortunately, very good dirt color reference in here, but we're going to try. Okay, well, it's worth seeing what that looks like. So, oops, we are going to blend it here, and then again. Which I think I'm going to want to switch these so that I can take this height mask and plug it into that one. There we go. Oh, I got some dirt. I'm going to maybe put an auto levels on this and see if I get some more stuff to work with in here. I'm just gonna edit this a little bit. I'm gonna delete some stuff. That's okay. This is a bit dark. I'm just trying to get rid of like these very drastic transitions. So I'm keeping an eye on here and here while I play with this stuff. I might select all and bring in some saturation. This is coming from the Perlin noise. There's some, like, I don't love that. Yeah, so I might also duplicate this. Do a slope blur on it. Oops. I have the color one. I want the grayscale. And I might use itself and see what happens. And a histogram range. I don't like those peaking values, but also if I grabbed a high pass grayscale, that might work. So it's cutting out all the low values. And then if I put on auto levels, what would happen? So that might work. I'm actually going to see what this looks like plugged into here. Yeah. I'm just going to take the value down on this one. And let's blend them together. I like that a little bit better. I still don't like these super dark browns in there. There we go. Yeah, it's pretty red now. I might just pick again. if I just pick from here? Aha. Bring up the value. Cool. And just for simplicity's sake, I am going to, actually, I'm going to flip these and then do that. Yeah, for simplicity's sake, for the rocks right now, I'm just going to you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I get particular. And yeah, it probably doesn't make for the most riveting stream. Okay, so this here, and then we had our stones as a mask for the roughness. Is that them here? Nope. Is this them there? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I'm just going to duplicate it because we might need it to be a bit more contrasty. And I need to mask this out. Blend. I'm going to grab the height, blend, put it in on top. So I've got the pebbles, I've got this mask, and I'm going to multiply it so it cuts out. And now, oh, that was wrong. Instead of that, I need to, instead of multiply, I need to subtract. I want the white values to come out of the thing. So there we go. Now I have the right one. There we go. And I'm going to set this to add. And plug that in. These little pebbles, which we can refine later, but I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it because I'm noodling enough already. Aww. Puns to my defense. Okay, so we have those. And okay, so at this, I'm going to add a little bit of, let's see if we can add a little bit of like green or mossiness. First, we need to do a frame for adding rocks, and then a frame for adding dirt. And I'm going to say color here so that, excuse me, we know. Just in case. I delete that node down there, and I'm going to hit save. We should hit save. Okay. So, how am I feeling about these? You know what? I'm gonna I'm going to maybe blend and plug both of these in, use that as a mask and multiply. Or overlay. So I'm going to reduce the height on this dirt. I kind of want it lower. Every time I lost my tessellation because I recalculated, I guess. Okay. I want to introduce some more stuff from the grunges that we had. So I'm going to grab this mask. Yeah, I'm going to grab this one. Blend. And I could be grabbing like different colors for this stuff, but I'm going to just try this first where I blend it with itself and just hit multiply. And I'm going to reduce it. Oh yeah, that was also something I wanted to do down here, is I wanted to actually increase the effect of this here. That was another noise that I wanted to increase. So set this to 0.01. Is that the right one? Yeah. 0.01. Did that even do anything? Okay. It's there. 0.02. Oh, I see. .07. It's a bit too strong. There. There. 0.03. Now it's doing a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. I want to take the mask that we created here with the roughness pass from the curvature. I'm going to duplicate that. Also, just for fun, there's a couple other curvatures in here. There's a curvature smooth. And I might put levels. See what I get out of that. See, this is the kind of mask that I think would be great for a gradient, actually. But this one has these like sharper white values in it. So I'm going to grab this. I do want it to go to black. So I'm going to take this and here create a blend. Again, I'm going to blend it on itself. I could also like I like doing this with colors, so I could blend this on itself and go add linear dodge. Another thing that I could do is the blend. I could plug this in, but this is grayscale. I could plug this in, and if you put a gradient map in between these things, it turns it into color because it takes a grayscale and outputs a color. So you can do it that way, and then I could do add, but it's just going to add like a white value. So we could do that. So that's what that one looks like. That's what this one looks like. I kind of like having the different like color values in here. That's why I do it with itself. But now you know that's an option. I'm going to dial that back. And then maybe with, so I also want to get colors for these cracks in that. It's worth pointing out that this looks like it has dark spots in there. It doesn't actually. That's coming from our ambient occlusion, which is in the viewport by default. So if I were to get rid of the ambient occlusion, this is actually what it looks like. So I might even reduce this to like 0.05 so I don't see it as much. But yeah, let's grab some color from this mask that we created here with all our pockmarks and scratches in it. So rocks color, we're gonna scooch up there, and then this here, and we're gonna blend. And then I'm gonna grab this, and again, just for simplicity's sake, multiply. If you want to get specific values, you can do that too. And I'm going to put a levels on it maybe. To get more out of that mask. I might even put a hue, saturation, and lightness here to reduce, yeah, it's just to make that darker. So I'm darkening this one, but that's the one that I'm multiplying in here, so it's just in those spots. So for the dirt, I wanted to put in a little bit of a moss or something, because this is on the ground, and we didn't get a chance to do greenery or anything, and this is looking very flat. So, I think I might even see what happens if I just plug this one in there. Oops. This. I guess I just have to do that. Oh. What am I doing? This one. Didn't give me much more to work with. Oh well. Okay, so we're gonna grab a clouds 2. And I'm going to grab a gradient map. And pick. Nope. Oh, I should probably show you. Okay, so we want like some green. This is getting harder. Okay. I'm gonna grab that. Get rid of some of these. Select all. I'm going to desaturate it a bit. And maybe take the value down a bit. Oops. Okay, let's, you know what, I might want to bring a bit of yellow in it or something. Okay. Do you have like a generator for the puns? How are you this fast with them? Practice, I guess. Did I ask you that last time? Levels. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna take a levels for this to get a mask. I mean, as far as diseases go, one that makes you clever enough to come up with puns consistently. As a person who doesn't have it, it seems kind of all right. Cool. So we're just adding a little bit of green. It's really saturated though, so I'm going to take that down. It's kind of gross. Oh, you know what? On the dirt here, I'm going to get rid of that histogram range because I can have more range on the dirt now. Because we controlled, I was controlling the height before because I didn't want to poke through these stones, but I don't have to worry about that anymore really. So I can make some of this stuff stronger so it doesn't look so smooth. And then for these stones, you see they're getting chewed up a little bit. To fix that, where we blend in the stones, which is here, what we want to do is do that non-uniform blur trick again. So we take the thing we're going to blend it on, so that's the dirt here, put that in the grayscale. Then we take the stones as our blur map. I'm going to try it like this. We might have to put a levels on it. Increase the intensity and the samples and blades. So it's going to create like a smooth spot for us to set them down on top of. But yeah, I think I'm going to need to take a levels to it so we can see it better. Okay, so it's very small, but they're right there. So now, if I were to plug in this, the dirt goes, now they're nice and smooth because they're sitting on top of a flat surface instead of trying to be added on top of all this noise from the dirt. Okay. Yeah, it's a good way to like layer a bunch of, especially like organic forms together. You can give it a base by blurring it first with this non-uniform blur grayscale. It's got a lot of cool uses. Cool, we added a little bit of green, got some colors in here. It's looking a little rough maybe, so maybe I'll go to this levels, get some smoothness. Another thing we can do is we go to our library and go to these, the 3D view where the HDRI environments are, and start throwing some in there. I don't know what I have. Oh! I hope that's not what's actually in here, this abandoned sanatorium staircase. Let's put in 3. Okay. So this is giving us like color information. This Tomoko Studio is pretty good. Or Studio 3. And then, of course, there's that panorama, but that's going to introduce some color, so just be careful of that. Yeah, I'm going to use this studio thing. If I'm ever bored or I'm feeling like things are looking too boring, just for my own sake, sometimes I'll throw in a random thing like this cave entry thing. Just makes it feel like it's in an environment. It's sometimes fun to see what they look like in different lighting scenarios. Cool. And of course, those are also there in case you ever want to do like a beauty render with iRay. I'm going to throw this Tomoko Studio one back in here. Okay. For the roughness pass, I think there's one more accent I might put in it. So we'll blend it for here. I'm going to take this. Oh, I think I wanted this one. Oh wait, did I duplicate? I duplicated that. That's why that's all the way over here. Okay, so we have that, and I'm going to use that also for my roughness. I know this is really hard to see. Okay, I'm going to pull it over here so we can zoom in. It's not very fair. And I'm going to add. Or at least see what a max lighten looks like. So we can make that a little bit rougher. Just want the light to have as much to do as possible. Okay. So I do want to show you how to like sort of package this stuff all up, and I realize it's not like this isn't as refined as this thing here, but I'm like, again, I encourage you to sort of use those techniques, play with different values. It's my cheat sheet, so I remember what I'm doing for you. Yeah, just go back. Yeah, exactly. And if, I mean, I was going to leave this to later, but if you have any questions, just, you know, feel free to message me or something like that if you get lost. But it's basically a lot of the same with this stuff. You're just going to use different gradient maps blending things together to get different variations for your stones. You can add, you can always keep adding more levels of detail in terms of like levels of detail for color or levels of detail for, like your height and that sort of thing. Like this version was like a couple of iterations. Like as I was putting together the content, I got to go back and revisit some things. So this took longer than doing one of the demos or the sessions. So it's totally fair to like go back and do some stuff and then want to like make some changes later. But I want to be able to show you how to get this all packed up for publishing. So I'm just going to frame this up and stone color. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we got that. Okay, so let's see. Before we go to archive this stuff, we probably want to expose some parameters. Like there might be some things that we want to play with later. So one of the big ones that we might want to play with is see these like X and Y amounts, for example. So maybe you want to change the shape of, or give someone the ability to change the shape and make bigger or smaller stones. So to do that, you go to expose, and it will give you this thing here. And it'll tell you X amount, but that's not very descriptive. So you can also go new and write stone or flag stone X amount. Hit OK. And OK again. I have a feeling I did something I didn't mean to do. Nope. Okay. Nope. Okay. So here, expose new flag stone X amount. Okay. Okay. Expose new flag stone Y amount. I'm very confused about why this isn't interesting. Yeah, so this one should change like this one did. I haven't seen this before, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. But the weird thing is, so if you ever want to see your exposed parameters, you double click inside the graph area, and it will show you the things that you've exposed. So we have here flagstone X amount, and it has a label on it. So the label is what you're going to see when you drag this graph into, say, another graph, or you drag it into Substance Painter or something like that. So it's basically the title for the control. So flagstone X amount. I'm going to copy this and put it here. Flagstone Y amount. And you can also set some things so that, you can prevent people from being able to break your material. So I could say, for example, that like the default is 4, the minimum amount I want is maybe 2. and the maximum that I want, we'll just say we can double it. And the same thing here. We could say that the minimum is 4 and the maximum is 16. So now I double click in the graph. Alright, I'm already there. If I were to change these slider amounts, it should update automatically inside. Okay, that one's not working. We will figure that out in a second. But this one is hooked up and working. So you can see that we can adjust that. Let's add here. Set that back to 8. And we're going to figure out why this parameter doesn't want. I'm going to try it one more time. Let's do X amount. Thinks about it, and then it just doesn't want to do it. We're going to move on for now, and then I'll see if I can figure out later why it's doing that. Because if I were to weird. Okay. That's so weird. I don't know why it did that. But if anyone else is having that problem, I'm assuming that you're not. I started trying to adjust the X amount in here, and it, yeah. And then it updated and remembered what I was asking it to do. So I'm just going to steal this title here. I'm going to call it flagstone X amount. I'm going to set my maximums again the way I wanted it, so 8. Okay, so we've got that. So people can adjust that if they want to. We could maybe expose this, so the edge width. I'm going to go OK. Double click. And for edge width, I want to call it or grout size. And then we can play with it in here to see what it's going to do. So there we go. We could like if someone really wanted to, I guess, do that. So maximum is 5, and then the minimum, do that. So this is happening too because we have the second one here. Let's see if it updates. I don't know if this goes lower than 1. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so the minimum will be 1, and then this was at 1.5 before. So we have that. What else? The dirt height. So we're going to want to set that okay. Sometimes it's good when those ghosts show up because then you can see something mess up or glitch out for me. So whatever does that for you, you might have a solution for it. Okay. So the minimum, see what it looks like if we hit 0? We don't want that. So I might say that the minimum is 0.5. 3. And the maximum, we don't want it to be 1 because then it's totally gone, I'm assuming. So I might say something like, if it's like really low, you could say 0.6. And then by default it was somewhere like 0.45, I think. Cool. And you know what? I want to create, let's just do one quick fun thing I want to show you. So we're not going to play with it too much, but if I grab this tile random, and right before this flood fill here, I'm going to create a switch grayscale. Put that on the bottom, this on top, and then we're going to do that shift, select, and put that in this output here. So now, so if you wanted a couple different designs, you'd use something like a switch here, and then set this to false. And now all the things that we did to those flagstones still apply to this new shape, which is pretty cool. And then also for the switch, I'm going to set it back to true, and then we can expose that. Expose, and we'll be specific with it, because say maybe you're switching a bunch of things. We'll go stone pattern switch. And then if I go to these and the switch, I'll go, so true, get a stone pattern switch, and then true is flagstone, and false is square tile. And I'm just going to test that by creating a new package. And I'm going to grab flagstone, so we have that here. This is the material we made, all packed up. And you can see some of these parameters we've exposed. So I could change the grout size to like 3. Ooh, I meant 3. And we could stone pattern switch, square tile. So now I know it works. It's possible that I'd want to like title these differently, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to leave it. So I'll delete that. And we're going to delete this package. I'm going to save this one. Go back into flagstone. Okay. So we've got all this stuff. Now we want to publish it. And a couple of checks that I do. So because we have this this set to, our graph is set relative to parent. So, and then all of these nodes are also relative to parent. So I've said before that, like, if we were to change the graph size, parent graph size, to like 1024, then all of these nodes here, because they're relative to parent, will also go to 1024, which can sometimes change the shape of some of your grunges. So things start to move around. Depending on what kind of resolution you needed for your gradient maps here. So if I look at this and then I change the parent size back to 2048, I believe I'll end up with more values in here. So if you want to avoid that, this would make your graph really heavy, but if you want to avoid that, you're coming across that problem, you can go to these nodes, for example, and go, this is one of those instances where you might go, output size is absolute, so no matter what, we could say that this is 2048, or we could say it's like, if you want to, you know, if we want to do that but want to keep it low, we could say 1024. The thing you have to be careful of, though, is that every node that it plugs into afterwards is going to say that it's 1024, so we could maybe do a levels and like this is just adding nodes, but there's ways around it. So if I did input time, like, and then added one, now it's 2048. It just knows that it has to go one step above whatever this is. But I might leave that for now. The thing is, it's sort of a trade-off. So then, no matter what, like, it's not as optimized because no matter what, you're going to have these nodes in here that are going to be at like a 2K size, no matter what. So I check for that usually to see if like there's some things plugging into gradients that I definitely don't want to change. The other thing that I check for is actually to see that this graph itself is set relative to parent, because you don't want it to be absolute. Because if we set this graph to absolute, then it would be, you know, and our graph is, you know, authored at 4K. If we packaged this up and then brought it into Substance Painter, it wouldn't matter if our Substance Painter file was, you know, 512 by 512. Our shelf would be loading up a material that is 4K at all times, which is super not optimized. So you really don't want to do that. So make sure that your graph is relative to parent. And again, you can check that up here with this little drop down. One other thing, so we had this sub graph, this little extra graph that we made to do the pebbles. So when we publish something, we're publishing an entire package, and it's going to look at these things in here, and it's going to want to make a material for each one of these graphs unless we tell it not to. So if I double click on the stones, you'll see here in the properties panel there's exposed in sbsar, and you want to say no for these types of things, because if we don't say the no and we bring that into Substance Painter, it's going to bring in a material. It's going to look at that published thing and think that there's two materials inside our archive file, and bring in a material called stones and a material called flagstone. So we don't want to do that. So if you had in here, if you made, you know, sticks or something, or you made leaves and that sort of thing, just be sure to go in there and then go no for exposed in the sbsar. Okay, so we have that. All this stuff done. We'll assume that we've done all of the exposed parameters that we want. And I'm just going to save it up. and then we can publish, and we'll call this flagstone, save, bring this up, and all of these are, I think, default. Let's just do auto. You can enable the icon if it had one. Hit OK. Now, we go to Substance Painter. To import a new resource, you just hit this little button here, add resources, and I'm going to go to where I exported that flagstone. So this is your archive file here. That's the one you want. Go open, and it's a base material. I'm just going to do that to the current session. Hit import, and here it's going to show up. There it is. And then I can drop that in. And look at that. We have our material. I brought in the tiling material one into like one of their default. I'm just gonna turn off height for now. There. Ooh. And then also you'll see in here we've got all of the parameters we exposed. So I could change the Y amount. We could turn on our square. Which is cool. Yeah, so that's how you would use that there. But also, if you just want the maps, you could right-click on your graph here and export outputs as bitmaps, and it'll bring this up, and you can tell it where you want them to go. So again, I'll just create a folder, call it maps, select the folder, and then you can, if you have like a naming convention that you want to use, you can put it in here. So by default, it's going to do the graph and identifier. And then I want these all to be I guess they could be raw. Probably linear. Yeah, because that's them are non-color data. And then export outputs. There's a checkbox here for automatic export when outputs change, which is useful, but I would use it very late stage, because it will, every time you change something here, it's going to re-export your maps for you. Export done. So go back here to maps. We have all our maps. Yay! Yeah. So there we go. We made a material. We published that material and we brought it into Substance Painter. This was fun, everybody. Thanks for coming to my first live stream session. So yeah, since it's the last session, like I said, it's totally fine if you want to send me a message another day if you have any questions. But if you have any questions right now, feel free to ask me about anything. If you have any, like, anything we went over in the last 3 sessions, yeah, now's your time. It's not your last time, but thanks, everybody. I really appreciate that. Oh dear, I like that compliment, but I don't know that I can take it. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Okay, so the first one, how long have I been using Substance Painter Designer? So, I started using Substance Designer four, I'm gonna say 4 years ago, I think. 4 or 5. They taught it at Red River in third year then. And that's what we used as like our texturing software. So that's when I first learned it. Um, and I learned a lot then. But shout out to a couple of other artists. There's Joshua Lynch and Daniel Tiger, I think. They both have really good resources that like really helped me level up after that. So yeah. Um, that's how long I've been using it. For making textures out of a painterly look to them. Yeah. Oh, and then sorry, for Substance Painter, I've been using it about a year less than that. So I learned Designer first, and then started teaching myself Substance Painter the year after. So for hand painted textures or painterly looking ones in Substance Designer, I would say it's totally possible. It's more just getting used to your noises, and honestly, I think it's a lot of like slope blur, and less is more. So, and you can totally like we saw this in the first session. You can totally import like bitmaps. So if you were to paint a brush stroke or something like that, you could use that to tile and like put that into your material. I like to go as procedurally as possible so that I have as much flexibility as possible. So I usually don't do that, but you can for sure like layer in other painterly effects. But it's just a lot of like, I would say just a lot of playing with noises and playing with different generators like this, like slope blurs and stuff, to get something that feels painterly without getting too many details in it. Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for solving issues during the presentation. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I didn't like the idea of having an issue and then just like leaving it as this mystery that I never address again. Because that would suck, because then you'd have to try and Google it. How long did it take me to get comfortable with? Okay, so that's like a follow up to the when I started using Substance Designer. So that's the thing. I was like aware of how, like I thought I knew how to use Substance Designer by the time I left Red River and we'd been using it for a year, but it wasn't until I started getting into some of those resources from those other artists I mentioned. Like Daniel Tiger has on Gumroad has an amazing fundamental series that like really changed some of like the way that I work and approach certain things, or like just taught me a bunch of cool tricks. So yeah, once I started, there's just like every once in a while you get like a good tutorial that sort of like cracks something for you. So I would say I started feeling comfortable. I don't know. I don't even like saying that I feel comfortable because I still feel like there's a lot still to learn. But if you do if you just practice with it a lot and you do like tutorials and get familiar, it shouldn't take you more than like, I don't know. It shouldn't take you that long to get used to it. It's just more about getting used to the nodes and what you're looking for and how to make certain shapes. Oh, they started teaching Substance Painter the year after I graduated, and that was a bummer. Cool. Are there any other questions? Yeah, that's why it's a hard question to answer when talking about like getting comfortable and how long. Because I find a lot of it has to do with like, learning the tool is the first hurdle. And I think for a lot of artists, this idea of like node workflows is the first hurdle. And then doing a bunch of tutorials is awesome and like a great way to get familiar and start finding like getting used to different groups of nodes that go together. But the true test of whether or not you're comfortable will honestly be after you do this one or after you do like check out some of those other resources I mentioned. Um, Find something that you want to make and then from scratch, like you can use like watch tutorials to try and get inspired, but try to make something that isn't from a tutorial specifically, and that's when you'll start to feel comfortable. Like when you can just like make something without having to have someone show you all the steps. I'd say that's the major milestone of whether or not you're comfortable with it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody so much for tuning in. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's very nice of you to say. I learned a lot for sure about streaming and teaching because I've never really had to do something in this format before. So thank you very much for showing up and then also helping teach me basically how to teach. I don't know what. Anyway, yeah, I might. This was fun, and I'm I think I'm definitely interested in doing it again. Hopefully the next time I have my AC working because it is. I'm sure you can see me just like melting as the hour goes by. It's very hot in here. Um, but yeah, okay. So again, you can find me Brenna Blackman on Twitter and Instagram. And again, I'm more of a lurker, so even if it seems like I'm not there, you can just DM me or something. If you have any questions, feel free to do that. Yeah. Yes, and I'll see you on YouTube. Okay. I'm gonna go have that soup now, probably. Thanks, everybody.